Hi, welcome to our channel Good New. The iPhone first came in the public eye in 2007, with Apple founder Steve Jobs declaring, "Today, we have redesigned the mobile phone." This historic product not only provided users with a new mobile experience, but also provided users with a new mobile experience. The smartphone age opens the way. Apple, as a pioneer, is undoubtedly the largest winner in the smartphone age. According to figures from relevant agencies, Apple accounts for more than 75% of earnings in the smartphone industry, while Samsung, which ranks second, accounts for only 13%. As a result, Apple has risen to the top of the mobile phone and even the whole technology sector. However, as the confrontation between Russia and Ukraine has deteriorated, the U.S. has moved to apply economic, diplomatic, and technological sanctions on Russia. Simultaneously, Apple has joined the U.S. sanctions, making items like iPhones and Macbooks inaccessible in Russia. This has also had a significant impact on Russia's transportation and communication networks. Of course, this consequence harms not just the Russian people's interests, but also Apple's stock and market share. The Russian people have also begun to explore for alternatives to Apple. So, will Apple be supplanted by something else? Is it true that Apple has squandered $5 trillion? The solution is provided in today's video. Apple squandered $5 trillion. The enormous success of smartphones has also prompted Apple to focus on the iPhone, resulting in the creation of a closed ecosystem that includes items such as AirPods, Apple Watches, and Mac computers, which have all caught up to the popularity of the iPhone. It has grown in popularity among Apple users. Because to the series' popularity, Apple became the first firm in history to have a market worth of more than $3 trillion. Many enterprises have discontinued offering services to the Russian area as a result of regulatory changes in Western nations this year. Apple has joined the team, eliminated a huge number of applications, and ceased operations of the Apple Pay service. This approach not only provoked widespread consternation in the Russian region, but it also had a severe influence on customers' enjoyment, social relationships, travel, and other activities. Faced with this predicament, Apple customers in Russia screamed their displeasure, and even some regular people showed their displeasure. iPhones will be rejected, and even if Apple applications and services are restored, people will not buy Apple devices again. Apple has vaporized $5 trillion in only a few days. Despite a considerable number of requests from Russian users, Apple has not responded. Apple is enormous, while Russia, with a market capitalization of barely $7 billion, has been dismissed. Consumers throughout the world are likewise watching as the supply cut wave continues, as well as Apple's unjust policies with Russian customers. Following the events in Russia, iPhone sales in other nations and regions began to fall precipitously. As a result, sales of the iPhone in other nations and regions began to fall precipitously. Apple's market value plummeted from a high of $3 trillion to $2.23 trillion in an instant, evaporating more than $770 billion. Apple's activities have clearly harmed consumers' emotions, and Apple's attraction has begun to sway. You know, Apple's enormous success is not only technological, but also brand-related. Apple's goal has always been to bundle items like the iPhone with high-end electrical devices. Consumers purchase the iPhone not only for the phone, but also for the Apple brand, which represents trust. However, what Apple has done in Russia has been seen by consumers all across the world, prompting some to doubt Apple's legitimacy and if the iPhone truly warrants the premium it commands. As a result, not only are Russian customers dissatisfied with Apple, but consumers in other nations and regions are wary as well. Consumers have come to distrust the iPhone. Mobile phones have evolved into portable devices that can connect to the internet at any time and from any location, and their importance is self-evident. Mobile phones have become an indispensable device in daily life, especially with the popularity of IoT devices such as smart home appliances and mobile payment. Making calls and sending text messages on today's mobile phones is no longer enough. They have additional usage situations, and customers respect their security concerns. Without a doubt, Apple's decision to halt service in Russia equates to informing customers that they are unsafe and that the iPhone is a brick without access to a big number of vital applications. As a result, many customers abandoned the iPhone for security grounds and switched to other models. There is no such thing as an irreplaceable mobile phone brand. Another explanation is the premonition of Apple's 5 trillion yuan evaporation, that is, Apple is too comfortable and feels it is irreplaceable. As a consumer electronics company, its main values are service and quality, and refusing to give services to some consumers is unquestionably not taking customers seriously. No brand is indestructible. At the same time, there has never been an irreplaceable mobile phone brand, and Apple is no exception. If Intel, Nvidia, AMD, and other businesses retain some trust as a result of their monopoly, Apple lacks the funds to join the supply line. A consumer electronics manufacturer has the audacity to discontinue a service that consumers should be able to enjoy. This behavior is deemed to be utterly antithetical to the industry's objective. Furthermore, there are other alternatives to the iPhone, therefore it makes sense for many users to abandon the iPhone. Although Apple is presently the most valuable mobile phone firm, with over $3 trillion in market capitalization, which is comparable to a country's GDP, this is not the reason why it treats users from various nations differently. Following its exit from the Russian market, Apple was investigated by Russia for anti-monopoly violations. Not only that, but it might face massive fines. The Russians should not be too lenient this time. Today, Russia has taken action against international firms who refuse to leave either by nationalizing them or investigating them, and Apple can no longer be arrogant. It is not the first time that Apple has upset a country and threatened to withdraw from its market. A U.S. firm has the audacity to threaten a country in this manner, which is unacceptable to any government. Following Russia's rejection of the appeal and the continuation of the inquiry, Apple should also pay for its acts and compensate those consumers who suffered as a consequence. Overall, we must not continue to allow Apple to be so arrogant, otherwise, there will be unending problems, and facts will show that Apple's exit from Russia is its loss, as it now has nearly half of the Russian market share. Finally, after losing more than 5 trillion yuan in market value, Apple should reconsider its strategy, in my opinion. Almost all of Apple's goods are organized around the iPhone's ecological chain. One of the reasons users pay for AirPods, iPad, Apple Watch, or Mac is the connection between these gadgets and the iPhone. Once the iPhone is rejected by the market, the system created around it will crumble, perhaps leading to the brand's demise. Nothing in this world is irreplaceable, and when a corporation moves its most critical consumers to the other side, it may be setting itself up for eventual collapse. Thanks for watching in this video. You can add your ideas or suggestions below. Please keep following our channel and like our videos.